Welcome, everyone, to the Wrestling Conversation. I am Brent West, along with Jack the Bomber Lord and Rodney West. We're going to be talking professional wrestling. And how are we going to start this?
Champion. I'm a champion. Right there it says, right behind you.
Rodney is the champion.
Right here, champion right there.
Rodney is the champion, so we'll let him go after Jack and after... Because that's how it usually goes. The challenger and then the champion next. So,
oh, do we want to start off with me? Okay. Well, just be that way.
No, I think we're supposed to start out with Rodney.
And I just made the statement of nobody ever caught me with my pants down, and yet here we are. Now, I'm ready. I can do my.
Are you ready to go? Okay, let's go ahead and go off the once. Hey, we're going to do what they say in the wrestling business today. We're going to go off the script.
There you go.
The script, and we're going to talk to Jack. Jack, he's going to talk about a man that won, I believe.
Actually, I made a change. I couldn't get all my info together for that,
okay.
So I sidestepped. But this is still a very famous man in the wrestling industry that not a lot of people know about.
All right, we'll go ahead, Jack. We'll take it over, and I'm going to try to do some very interesting changes around. Now, it could look kind of crazy while I'm doing that, but I am going to try. We got some graphics for Jack, so we're gonna bring that up here in just a moment.
Okay, we all know who Vincent Kennedy McMahon is, of course. And most of us know of who Vincent James McMahon was, his father. Both are referred to as Vince Sr. and Vince Jr., a distinction that is hated by Vincent Kennedy McMahon. But before them, the McMahon Pro Wrestling, Sports Entertainment, and, surprisingly, boxing empire began with Roderick James McMahon. Born on May 26, 1882, Jess staged his first wrestling matches when he was just a child. And for his backyard events featuring neighborhood kids against each other, and also neighborhood kids paying in pins, pennies. Let me see, what else did they have there? Well, just whatever you could come up with. They got admission to these wrestling matches. So anytime anybody wants to talk about backyard, I guess we all just need to take a step back, realize where this started from, and could explain Vince presently. So anyway, he and his brother in 1911 started the New York Lincoln Giants, a black baseball team that had numerous wins in their first 3 years, including victories over all white teams. Money issues forced the brothers to sell the team in 1914. In 1915, they traveled to Cuba to promote a boxing match, their first, between Jack Johnson and Jess Willard. Jess's greatest ability as a boxing promoter was in setting up matches that would produce the best fights. He was also completely unafraid to cross the color barrier and set matches up between fighters of all races. Jess was an ardent fan of boxing who wanted to showcase real fighters and real fights. He gave fighters of color equal opportunities to fight as the white fighters. He did not tolerate dodging, nor did he set up fights that privileged race over skills. Some detractors may have despised him for his policy, but the majority of the press, the fighters, the fighting fans, especially the boxing fans of color, adored Jess and his devotion to promoting real fighters. But before Jess could become the celebrated boxing matchmaker or sign of professional wrestling, he had to move beyond an early accusation to the Boxing Commission that the McMahon brothers were a threat to the sport of boxing. They eventually faced off and ultimately came out on top against these assertions, and their success grew. It was after this that Edward disappears from all accounts, and his future is not known. Jess formed a partnership with George Tex Rickard, another famous boxing promoter, who would go on to found the National Hockey League. Together with Rickard, Jess burst into the boxing world, focusing on setting up fights that would begin to dismantle the deeply entrenched racism in boxing and sports in general. Jess frequently moved as the promoter of one arena to another, and in 1932, he promoted his first professional wrestling event at the Municipal Stadium in Freeport, New York. Jess stepped directly into the vicious turf battles that plagued New York's wrestling scene in the 1930s. Jess once again formed a partnership to ensure his promotion success, this time with Carlos Henriquez, a competitive wrestler who managed to book events at both the Brooklyn Sports Stadium and the Coney Island Stadium. This alliance diminished the raging turf war enough for Jess to sign a number of prominent wrestlers, including Gino Garibaldi, Jim Browning, Hans Kampfer, Wee Willie Davis, Mike Romano, the Deucics, Everett Marshall, Tor Johnson, and Abe Cashy. But his most successful wrestling contact was with the wrestling great Joseph Raymond Toots Monk, with whom Jess would create the Capital Wrestling Corporation in 1952. By that time, Jess's son, Vincent J. McMahon, had become an integral part of his father's business endeavors. Jess was getting older, and Vince's passion for wrestling catapulted their business from the Capital Wrestling Corporation into joining the National Wrestling Alliance. It is important to know that Jess instilled in his son a tremendous work ethic, a head for business, and the tenacity that would eventually become atrocious, to put it mildly, in the grandson, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Jess's legacy as a boxing promoter is far more prolific than his career as a wrestling promoter. He was arguably the founder of the future WWE, but he can best be remembered as an early promoter of mixed race fights, an advocate for color blindness in matchmaking, and an astute businessman. In later years, Jess served as vice president for the National Sports Alliance Fund for Indigent Boxers in New York State. And in 1954, he died at the age of 72 of a cerebral hemorrhage, which struck him while attending a wrestling match in Queens, New York. And there we have a little bit of unknown or lesser known WWE history.
Good story, Jack, right there about. Hey, there you go. I have become the. let me just tell you, there's a great story, Jack. By the way, everything that I tried during that with the special stuff that I had did not work. So I'd have to figure out what is going wrong with all that. I do not have no clue what happened during all that, but it finally did work though when we came back after your story. It did work after that, but for some reason, it did not work out the way we wanted to. Okay, Rodney, it is now time for your story and what you've got to say. It may or may not be something someone wants to hear. Rodney? Is he there?
I am here, but I'm thinking about seeing how I can come through the screen and smack you in the face. Because people always want to hear from me. That's what I'm saying. No, my thing was this week. I was thinking about what loss we've had over the last 30 years, 40 years, when wrestling was not a part of every market, a part of the culture, so to speak. When we were growing up, wrestling was an everyday occurrence or a weekly occurrence in every market, just about the United States, especially in Chattanooga. It was one of the hottest wrestling towns in the entire United States. Had its own television program that was dedicated directly for the market, and of course, not just this market, but all over the United States. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of wrestling fans of today, surely it's not that we're saying that when people say, well, you're just looking back, you're backward thinking. No, you're truly missing out on what was it to be a part of when wrestling was part of the culture of each and individual local market. I've always said, and I've told people this many times, that wrestling was bigger back then than it was now. I would say, if you say 50 towns per night in lots of cases, especially on a Saturday night, might be running. And so my thing is that we're not trying to say, look backwards. We're just saying that you're missing out. You're missing out. There is nothing better than being at the matches live in person, being in a part of the crowd, getting to the ring, going to the concession stand, having that ring light just be the only thing lit. And then that show is just for you. The promoter designed it just for you, just for the people in that market. I think that is a missed and a lost art form of today. I shudder to think that if any wrestling organization could actually do what Nick Gulas and Paul Jones, Fred Ward, Jerry Jarrett, Bill Watts, Fritz Von Erich did on a weekly basis. These are massive events. Of course, Nick Gulas, the biggest card he ever signed every single week. It was just something he said. And it was true. And for Chattanooga, yeah, it was right. But my opinion is I truly believe that if, and I'm not trying to knock anything of today, I'm just saying that the wrestling fans of today are missing out. They really are missing out on that weekly wrestling product that they go to every single week, having its own TV show for that very market. And also being able to participate in the live event every single week. It is far different than watching it on TV. And it's fine watching it TV. That's fun. Yeah. So what? But the main thing was always going down to the auditorium, to the City Auditorium in Atlanta, or to the Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham or Mid-South Coliseum and Memphis. Nothing like being a part of that. And when you go to listen to what people's memories are, especially in this area, they remember those times at the Memorial Auditorium or the National Guard Armory here in Cleveland or Boutwell Auditorium or Dothan, the Houston County Farm Center. So, and like I said, I'm not trying to besmirch anybody of today. I'm just saying I think a lot of the wrestling fans truly miss out on what used to be a promoted wrestling event dedicated to that market and to the fans in that area. And I think truly a lost art. And I'm done.
All right, there we hear Rodney's. There I am again. I'm going to tell you what. I'm just making sure that I am the. For some reason, this is going right back to that every time. But Rodney, you know, I'm thinking about that, and people will say, Tim. Somebody just said, Tim. No, Kevin Penley said this. He said Nick did his own interviews in the record-breaking crowd. The buildings only held 5,000. But this is what you don't understand, Tim. This was what was going on, though. On Thursday night, sometimes they would draw 5,000 people. Then they'd come back on a Saturday and draw 5,000 people again. This was every Saturday night. This was not once a month. And, you know, people say, well,
once a month, it's worse than that.
Week.
Some
so that's
twice a year or even once a year.
So, a different time, different circumstances. But the thing is there were more people watching wrestling back in the 1960s even than I think watch wrestling today. But I understand what Rodney's saying. Let's go and talk a little bit. Rodney said he wasn't knocking anyone. Well, I may start knocking someone. So if you
what my point was is that the product of today is not geared for that person to come live to their show. No. It's primarily a television show at this point, and really they're not interested in house shows at all.
And you know, and I think that's very important. And in the next few months, I'm hoping to be able to tell everyone about a situation that we're working on right now that will actually be a wrestling promotion that will be about being in Birmingham, Alabama, about being in Montgomery, Alabama, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee, and it'll be about 6 months working on something right now. I believe that wrestling coming back to I believe that is going to be what's going to make because that personal attention to something I think is missing in the wrestling business, and I think if you would bring that back, people would enjoy it. But Rodney said he wasn't knocking anyone, but I'm going to have to do a little bit of knocking, not completely a bad knocking, but this is for Jack and Rodney because I'm going to ask y'all some questions about this. The first thing I want to ask about, I watched the Bryan Danielson and Dustin Rhodes match. Tremendous match on All Elite Wrestling. Rodney, have you had the opportunity to see this match?
Excuse me, I was coughing at time when you were saying that. No, I've sorry, I missed that.
That is a
Who was doing the commentary on that? Who did the commentary on that match?
Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and whatever that other guy's name is.
With all of them yelling at you while they were doing the commentary.
I don't think they were yelling that.
Well,
I watched a fan. I watched a fan thing from that. I don't think I watched the actual thing.
Oh, okay. Well, then you've saved yourself. Then go ahead.
I probably have. Yeah. But let me ask you this question: Why did they wrestle each other? I mean, Jack, I'm just saying, like, why did they put these two people together?
Well, the synopsis of the whole thing is that there's a tournament to face apparently the heavyweight champion, and they were matched up in the tournament. So as far as that goes, I guess it made sense for Danielson to lock up with him and to advance on in the tournament. Now, whether they're going to put the belt on him or not, I don't know. But as far as the quality of the match, I thought this was one of the best professional wrestling matches I have seen in a very long time. At least the best match this year.
The reason I say that is I watched it and they made him submit. And I kind of
wait. You made who submit?
They made Dustin. He made Dustin submit to what I don't know what you would consider. It looked like a chokehold. Looked like it choked him down to me. But
was that an illegal hold? You're saying that was an illegal hold?
I'm saying it was illegal, and I'm protesting of all elite wrestling. I'm giving Tony Khan a call, and I'm going to act like I'm one of the wrestlers, and he'll do something about it. Now,
right. You have to be a WWE wrestler for him to listen to you. Go ahead.
But this is the thing, though. I don't understand why you would do that, because Dustin should be pushed. He should be in a 12-week program with someone, some form or fashion. He shouldn't be beat. He should be one of their top stars for the next 3 years, and he should be pushed. I don't understand why they beat him that way.
Can I go ahead, Jack? Maybe you're
I think this is kind of his own choosing to a certain extent. He knows he's on the tail end of his career, and his focus now is more on building talent. Danielson is not a guy that you should have to build. He's already built. But still, in theory, I understand why he's doing what he's doing. Now, would I be pushing him to the top of the card? You better believe I would.
Yeah, I don't.
So I think it's a huge missed opportunity by utilizing him just to build the next generation.
And because he's a great wrestler, and he still got it. He still has the ability to get in the ring. So I don't understand why they're not doing something with him. He should be one of their top guys. There should be, as Jim Cornette talks about, the Great Eight. And you should have 8 people that in the next 3 years is going to be your top stars. And after 3 years, you take away 4 of those and get another 4, and you continuously have the Great Eight. That's the way territories were always booked around.
Right.
Okay, now that we got out of that, why is there snow?
Wait.
Go ahead, Randy.
Now, you said it was a great match, and you asked why he did what he did. Number one, they set the standard. Maybe all the other wrestlers who are obviously calling their own shots. Okay, let's just be honest. They're calling their own shots. Tony might say, well, no, they're not. Yeah, they are. That's the reason you see repeatedly the same thing over and over and over again, especially jumping people behind the scenes. Number 2 is that he showed that even when I lose, look, I will even submit in a match just to set a standard for the people he's trying to train, because it doesn't mean anything. Dustin can still be built up, as y'all, I think both of you understand. He can still be built up. He can still be on the main event. He can still be a great draw. So losing, as we've said before, means nothing. The only thing that means something is if you're no longer seen on television. That's the thing.
My point is this: it's a baby face versus baby face. If there's a certain thing left in this world,
anyway, remember, Cody says there's only shades of gray, and that's what he believes in. There's none of that there.
To add to this, Dustin has been doing this, it seems like, for over a year now. He hasn't really been involved in anything that even springs to mind for me that was significant, other than putting somebody over. Now he does it with great style.
Yes,
and you still believe in him and his abilities. But still, it just seems a waste.
It's a waste. Dustin Rhodes should be pushed to the top, and he is still be able. I think it was a waste of beating him when they could have they could have had him beat someone else. Why is there snow for Sting?
Okay. Do y'all remember the old WCW angle of what was it called? Blood Runs Cold.
I don't think
Remember that? Yeah, that was Ray Lloyd's character. What was his character?
Oh,
there?
Glacier.
Yeah,
Glacier. Yeah,
Mhm.
and remember all that snow that they used to have that came down? Well,
Yeah.
apparently Sting owned stock in that company, and there was just a ton left over.
I mean, what?
Well, that makes sense. Okay.
You look like he had dandruff when they
Yeah,
did the
I
show.
don't.
Okay, this is a question I got to ask again. You know, I've watched. Now, you'll notice all this is about All Elite Wrestling because I got to ask him questions. I just want to be informed of what's going on here.
Be
Why
up to date.
what purpose does it serve to beat up Sting if MJF is going against Darby Allin? Because doesn't that defeat the purpose? Doesn't that make you want to see MJF go against Sting instead of Darby Allin?
Quit applying psychology.
That is correct. I was about to say, yes, if you're looking for Tony Khan to make sense, you're going to be waiting a long time.
And if you were
Remember,
going to push
he's smarter
Darby,
than Ted Turner.
if you're going to push Darby to go against MJF next, why did you let CM Punk beat him? Well, he's been beat. So if MJF beats him again, then that means Darby Allin's going to get beat twice on a big stage. So if you really thought he was going to be the guy that'd be pushed, why would you just keep on beating him? Makes no sense whatsoever. Why would you do that? It makes. I mean, I'm just trying to find out.
He's not an alumni of the WWE.
They're fixing to turn this Warlord guy,
Wardlow.
Warlow. It looks like they're going to ditto. But is Leo Rush not doing the same exact gimmick that MJF is doing?
Yes.
Just because he's treating Seidel bad. This Matt Seidel or whatever his name is. I think he's got a brother that's hurt right now. So what did they just get in the dressing room and say? Well, I'll just do the same thing you just did, and I'll do it with Matt Seidel instead of doing with.
Yes,
works for him. Let's do it here too.
You're exactly right.
I'm just asking these questions, okay? There's questions I want to ask. All right, Jack, I'll ask you this question: is CM Punk been done right in AEW?
Absolutely not. And worse than him not being done right is the fans have not been done right by him. And it's not his fault because he's going out there and he's giving some really good matches in, and he's still getting a tremendous response. But how long is that going to keep up with this mindless booking that they're doing with it? You know, there's just no direction.
You know, when he first came there, he went against Darby Allin, which made no sense.
Yep.
You know, you had enough time to build some heat on somebody for him to come in and beat him. And when he beat him, it meant something. You have him go against Darby Allin. Darby Allin's, it didn't help him, CM Punk, at all by beating him. Then he goes beats, I don't know, some other guy. Then he beats this guy named Hard Body something or, whatever. Yeah. But then it turns around a week later and the Orange Cassidy beats the same guy. So that meant he beat nobody. If Orange Cassidy can beat somebody, he beats them with his hands in his pockets. You know what I mean? You not doing. If I was CM, if I was CM Punk, I'd went in that dressing room and said, "You mean to tell me you had me go out and have a match with this guy, and now that guy that puts his hands in his pockets beat him as well? Now, how bad did it make me look?" And I mean, it just made no sense. This whole CM Punk. Then he's going against Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish got beat twice on television.
Yeah,
twice.
I don't get that either.
And now they're putting them on this show. Makes no sense again. Makes no sense. The booking makes no sense. You just beat Bobby Fish twice on television. Why does anybody care to go see him go against CM Punk? They know CM Punk's going to win.
Apparently, they're using WWE's big spinning wheel that was on the show NXT last week, and they're putting names up there, and they're just spinning until whoever it lands on. That's who we're sticking in there with CM Punk.
I just don't. I watched that today. I just wanted. I don't watch a lot of it, but I got to watch all it.
Look, I can see this actually happening before every show. CM Punk checking his bank balance and going, "Okay, I'm ready. Who am I working tonight?"
Make sure
I
it's
know
money
why they're
fair.
doing it. All right, now I'm going to talk one more thing about All Elite Wrestling, and then we'll move on to something else. Adam Cole. What in the world did he believe that he was going to go to All Elite Wrestling and his career was going to be a whole lot better than what he was going? He should have cut his hair and he should have been a manager at WWE because they had him out there as the Ghostbusters on the last show that I saw, and these other guys, it's stupidest, goofiest crap I've ever seen. Adam Cole, you made a major mistake in your career. You're going to be out of the wrestling business, and you better make sure that Tony Khan stays in business, because I'm telling you, that's the dumbest thing I ever seen in professional wrestling.
I think this is a slow build towards him working against what's their heavyweight champion?
Omega.
I don't care. Anyway, yeah. I think this is a slow build towards him turning on Omega. I think the entire group turning on Omega, which the only thing worse than Omega as a heel is he is a babyface, followed by just him. But anyway, I think this is their way of building a storyline with him. I think they have told him things that right now he's just having fun. And I get having fun. That's fine. But without some kind of long-term ideas in place, I think I would be, like you're saying, I would be really rethinking the decisions I've made.
Yeah, I think it's too late now. I don't think Vince would bring him back.
And there are worse things. Let's just discuss this just for a second. There are far worse things than not being able to wrestle and still making top dollar. So.
This is true. Adam Page also ended up in this match. He was the buff man.
Which by the way, I went as the Stay Buff Marshmallow Man for Halloween also, but I didn't have to have a costume. So
he was the buff man. That's all I can say about that. Okay, let me see. What else did I have here? Ring of Honor, evidently, taking a time off. Supposedly going to return during WrestleMania weekend to live shows. Let me ask you all this question. If you're the Ring of Honor, or you're any other wrestling company for that matter, and Rodney, I'll ask you this question. Is it smart actually to book your show right against, and I know they do well with it. I understand why they do it, but doesn't that make your wrestling company kind of look small and weak? And
that's because they are weak and they are small. So you're just a hanger on. You're a parasite. You're just going around. It's like when we used to work for the circus, and other circus would try to date us before we came in, and so they would try to capitalize on your advertisement. Same exact thing here. So they're weak, and yes, that's the reason they do it.
And to be fair to Ring of Honor, they're not the only ones that piggyback off WrestleMania week. You know, There's every night you can find an independent wrestling show within driving distance of WWE's arena. It's become commonplace. It's become accepted. I know Vince tries to even pay to have other arenas just set empty so as they can't come too close to him. But I mean, how much can you do? And I think it's kind of pointless at this point for him anyway, because they're the big dogs in town. They're selling out. Yeah. You know, everybody else is just picking up the leftovers, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's like
I can seagulls and pigeons picking up your bread. But when you're Sinclair Network, when you're Sinclair Broadcasting, I mean, they're a $1 billion company. I mean, it's not like they don't have money. It's not like, just think of the
airwaves
they could have. I have gotten in touch with Joe Koff. I have gotten in touch with him because I wanted to just see what was going on with that. It'd be sad to say that Ring of Honor went out of business when they didn't really give it a chance. The last couple of months, it's just been comedy routine after comedy routine.
Yeah, and 18 months since they've been able to hold an event in front of a crowd. That's tough. It's tough on morale. It's tough to produce, and goodness, it's tough on a pocketbook. I don't care who's paying for it. That's hard to recover from. I understand what they're doing, and I hope they can come back from this. And while it's sad, don't get me wrong, I'm sad that all those guys that had jobs there, men and women, that they're all getting released. I hate that. I do. But in the same token, here we are opening up a door for young talents out there that have never gotten this opportunity to now to be able to go on Ring of Honor when they come back as a fully independent show to showcase their talents out there. Now, is it the smartest thing for Ring of Honor? I don't know. So what happens when you don't have contracts and you've got this great wrestler as your heavyweight champion, and all of a sudden Vince or Tony Khan or somebody pays attention to him and says, hey, I want this guy, and if he's not under contract, then he's going to go. Yeah. So unless you can have some kind of agreement where at least show by show you have some kind of agreement, then you're kind of up the creek.
Right. Because that could end up with you coming up to the main event and said, oh, by the way, I'm not going to show up unless you pay me such and such amount of money. So that could lead to that for sure. Or they say, well, somebody else is giving me more money down the road. I'm going to go work for them unless you want to match them. Same thing.
Yep.
All right. Another thing that I found out that, and this is going back to AE, January 8th, there's going to be a TNT special, 1 hour. They're only going in 1 hour, and it's going to be called Battle of the Belts. The old championship wrestling from Florida had a couple of them Battle of the Belts. They actually last year, I think, did some type of. I guess they got the trademark. They got that name trademark, so they can use Battle of the Belts, and I guess that's going to be their TNT specials. I guess that's very interesting that they would use Battle of the Belts. So somebody goes back a ways there. I don't know who that would be. Because I don't think Cody was around during the Battle of the Belts, was he?
No, that was wasn't it Florida the first one to do that?
Yeah.
I believe so.
All right, now Miz has been eliminated.
Oh no, Rodney, no. This means he'll be back on Raw.
Oh,
from the Dancing with the Stars. Yeah, he got eliminated. Oh, too bad.
I absolutely cannot say anything bad about The Miz because my youngest daughter thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
New Japan Pro Wrestling is going to be doing a North American tour. They're going to do, I think, maybe Dallas, Texas, California, a bunch of places. How do you think, Rodney, New Japan Pro Wrestling, how are they going to do in the United States? I mean, are they going to catch on?
Unless they're going to do it by invisible means, I don't know how they're promoting their shows. So I'm not sure. Are they on a TV network here? If they're promoting it, or
are they? I don't know.
No, they're not on a network presently, but they do have a strong social media presence. They have their program is available on YouTube, the American version, to help promote these shows. So they do. In essence, they do have a foothold here, and let's also remember
they'll do
well. Yeah, as long as they go into large markets where there's a lot of fans of their particular style. Now they're not going to come to. Yeah, they're not going to come to Birmingham and drop.
Sure.
But now they can go to In fact, Long Beach, I believe, is where they ran before COVID hit, and drew a massive crowd. So there's a market there for them, and I hope they do good because personally, I like
Los Angeles. So probably Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York. That would probably
you could do Chicago, you could do New York, New Jersey. I don't know if anybody wants to go to New Jersey, but anyway, there's large markets they should do just fine.
Yeah.
Speaking of New Jersey. Did you hear about this guy? I don't even know what his name is, but evidently they had some kind of match there, and and the guy got caught on fire, and now he's in major pain in the hospital. Some Japanese guy who's doing wrestling, some kind of death match deal with the deal, but he caught on fire. When the New Jersey State Athletic Commission allows people to get caught on fire, and they let them come back and do that more.
Do they have an athletic commission? I'm not sure. I know New York does, but I'm not sure about New Jersey.
So New Jersey doesn't have one. Well, maybe
Well,
that's
apparently the fire extinguisher company didn't make any money off of it.
They did put them out. They said they did.
I did see. I did not know that there was a guy in the ring because when they showed it, the whole middle of the ring was just in flames, and I didn't find out till later that there was somebody inside those flames.
And if I'm not mistaken, no, it's Connecticut. There was one state that when we did the circus, they made us have charged lines up and down by the tent because of a fire in Connecticut. I forgot what town it was in. And you had to have charge lines run each because it burned down and many people passed away in that thing. So I would say that they would have to have fire people. The wrestling matches now, and it'll cost them a fortune. Of course, government people are going, oh, wow, wrestling's coming. We're going to get paid.
All right, we're going to talk about one more thing, and then we'll go to the top 100 wrestlers of all time here. Bray Wyatt, he has said that he's going to spill the beans on WWE. Have y'all heard this? That he's going to spill the beans? What is he going to tell them? Well, what would he say?
I don't know, but honestly, I'm going to listen to see what he's got to say.
Me too, just to see. What I had heard, that I know this is what I heard. Now I don't know if this is true or not, so don't take me. But I had heard that actually Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis, I think they both said he deserved to be gone. That he had a bad attitude, that he was out of shape. He couldn't work good. I don't know. That's just what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. But
well, I'm going to dispute the out of shape because there was a picture posted on social media just days before he was let go, and he was in the best shape I have ever seen him in. I mean, I guarantee he'd lost a good 40 pounds and was just, jacked for a guy. I mean, he looked fantastic. So that is out the window. There's absolutely no truth to him not being in shape. Now, is he difficult to deal with? I don't know. Maybe if they hadn't jerked him around so many times and changing his whole gimmicks and never listening to anything he had to say about it, I guess I'd have a bad attitude too.
To me, they should have kept him as the whatever the family that he had. The Fiend just was crazy, just crazy, and And if they blame him for that, that was their crazy idea.
To a part of the audience, that was getting over. My issue with that is that they just kept swerving everything about that. They'd build him up, then they'd just beat him. Then they'd build him up, and then they'd just beat him again. There was no, keeping him at a top level. He was viewed at one time as being the current new age version of The Undertaker. And I could kind of see that to a certain extent, different way at it, but he could have been a major, major star, but they did not know what to do with him. They knew how to get him there. They didn't know what to do because once they got him there, they were just like, let's just beat him, build somebody else. Crazy.
I believe they're afraid that somebody's going to get over.
Well, I think it goes back to the fact that Vince has long said he did not want any single individuals leading the company. He wanted wrestling or the WWE logo to be what everybody pays money to see. That their brand, not certain people on the show, the whole thing, which makes no sense at all.
No, it doesn't. It never has worked in the history of his wrestling company.
Now, the idea of building someone up and then beating them is that's typical. That has been used over the years. Jerry Lawler was the king of it. If I may pardon the pun, he was the king of it. Kamala was developed just so that he could beat him. Okay, that was what he was used for. And like I said before, it's not the point that he lost. It's the point that will he be on TV the next week and they start building again? Did you keep a job? That's the point. That's the key. And for him just to be built up. Go ahead.
And in that process, though, at least Jerry was being built and kept on top.
Sure.
You're right. I think that's what the difference is.
There is a difference.
And maybe Vince is thinking if I build a whole bunch of guys, then no one of them can come to me and say I'm the leader of the pack and you need to pay me more. But if you got a leader of the pack and he's filling your buildings up, you need to be paying him more.
Yes, and it's important to have the one star. Every TV program has a star.
Yes.
You know, a Star Trek, it was William Shatner.
Yep.
Regardless if anybody wants to say William Shatner was the star, then come Leonard Nimoy. Those were the stars of the show, and you made it around them. If you watch CSI, they had a star of the show, and so any successful show's got a star. And you've got to have a star. And at this point right now, I would say Roman Reigns is probably the biggest star that WWE has. On a regular occurrence. Now, I guess when Brock Lesnar comes in, there's a difference in that. I think Brock brings the numbers up and helps draw the crowd. But let's go ahead and let's transition now to
one other little tidbit of news here that I have is I was able to see Bambi, Selena Majors, this weekend.
All right.
And her program that she's socially closely associated with, WOW, Women of Wrestling, is coming back. They have signed a deal with Sinclair Broadcasting, who owns Ring of Honor, by the way. But they're going to be syndicating their show into all Sinclair networks all around our stations all around the nation. So that's a huge deal for them. They start building in January, but the shows won't actually debut till the fall of next year. So big stuff coming from them again.
That's good. We want to wish them a very good luck on that because some big names involved.
And Selena said to tell everybody out there hello, that she loved being on the show, and hopefully we'll be again before much time.
Yes, we will bring her back on, especially when WOW starts really getting out there. Maybe they could invite us out to California.
Yeah,
it's Vegas, isn't it?
I know somebody.
Let's go ahead. Let's transition now. The top 100 wrestlers. Number 73 is what we're on. And number 73 for me is Angelo King Kong Mosca. I don't think there was any better person than King Kong Mosca in Georgia Championship Wrestling. Georgia heavyweight champion, tremendous wrestler. Ends up hurting his shoulder in the process of. I think right when they started drawing a lot of money with him, he got hurt. But everywhere he went, to the Carolinas, Florida, wherever Angelo Mosca went. Tremendous wrestler. And if you watched just recently, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, he gets in a fight with one of his old football stars and he starts hitting them with his cane. And if that ain't a reason to be number 73, beat the guy with his cane. That's no reason not to be there. But no, King Kong Mosca. Jack, what do you think about Angelo King Kong Mosca?
I was fortunate to see him. When I saw him, was in the Mid-Atlantic when I lived in the Savannah area, and I thought he was fantastic. I immediately, became a fan of his. He was so convincing in everything he did. He was a beast.
Rodney?
I walk and I talk and I do exactly what I want. That was his phrase. It was tremendous. You're right. Great Georgia heavyweight champion. He had already lost the belt when they took a back body drop and fell on his shoulder, hurt his shoulder. He came back. Things were not the same. Of course, they had moved on. Superstar was on his way, so they had moved on. But at the time, 320 pounds, big, huge man, became the Georgia champion after a tournament. Then they had a big match with he and Stan Hansen. And then Dick Slater came in. Of course, Wrestling 2 wins, finally beats him after months of just railrolling and running over everybody. Beats him for the Georgia Heavyweight Championship. Just a tremendously gifted wrestler. Great on the mic. He was, like I said, you were left out. He was in the WWE as well, or WWF as well. It was tremendous up there as well. Mosca, just awesome wrestler.
All right, Rodney, number 73 on your list. And hey, if you have a number 73 on your list, let us know. We're going to talk about it in just a moment. All the insiders, bring your names on in. Let us know. 73. All right, Rodney.
My number 73 is Paul Orndorff this week. Yes, Paul Orndorff. Great wrestler, big time. I think he really hit his stride when he was working for Mid-South, for Bill Watts, a North American heavyweight champion. And I think he was several of the Louisiana champion, Mississippi champion as well. I think he really hit it big there. First time we saw him was in Southeastern, the Knoxville end. He was teaming with Dick Slater against Dennis Condrey and David Schultz. And then, of course, later on, I guess after that, he goes to work for the Crockett's, and which he and Jimmy Snooker, the World Tag Team Champions, beat the Andersons. Tremendous wrestler. And then, of course, later on, we know him as when he gets to the big time, or if you in this case, he goes to the WWF, in which he really finds himself, I think, and becomes Mr. Wonderful and becomes a superstar. Then, of course, shifts back after that to World Championship Wrestling, and they just didn't know what to do with him. Honestly, they did not know what to do with him.
No, and Paul Orndorff, a tremendous wrestler, but he did lose a fight to in a bar. And Bill Watts took the North American title away from him because of that. Bill Watts said, "Well,
that's right." And what's the answer to that?
Stay out of the bars.
Stay out of the bars.
But Paul Orndorff, tremendous. When we saw him, the first time we ever saw him, we saw him in Southeastern Championship Wrestling. At the time, Jim Barnett owned Southeastern Championship Wrestling. He bought it for Ron Fuller, but tremendous. We knew he was going to be a huge star, and we also liked Terry Orndorff, which his brother, which was a tremendous wrestler as well. I think maybe he had an automobile accident and couldn't wrestle anymore, but Paul was so good then. We knew he was good, and when they came, even when he came to Georgia Championship Wrestling, I think maybe it was World Championship Wrestling by that time. They didn't really know what they didn't really push him the way he should have been pushed in that position as well.
Right, and that was due to the fact that the company was still a true believer in Tommy Rich, and nobody was going to take the top spot except for Tommy Rich. Much to my dismay, we had to watch Tommy Rich over and over and over again, and say stuff like, "Gordon, just like I said, Gordon, just like I said. If I'd heard that one more time, I was going to throw up. Just like anything else he said." I'm sorry, honestly, when he stood on Atlanta TV and cried about not beating Harley Race for the world title, and basically, what was it? He left because of that. Killed him off deader than the doorknob. He would never reach that epitome, that level again, as far as I'm concerned. It burned a bridge for me, for sure.
All right, Jack, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
I absolutely loved Paul Orndorff. There was such an intensity to everything he did. You could not watch him and not be able to suspend belief, about it, because he was just so good. He could talk, he could walk, he could present himself, and what a physical specimen he is or was. God rest his soul.
Yes, tremendous. A lot of people said they had problems with Paul Orndorff, but always was nice to us. Yeah. Always was a gentleman. Always was nice. So I can't say anything bad about Paul Orndorff. All right, Jack, number 73 on your list.
For me is a follow-up. I had mentioned Fit Finley here a few episodes back, and today I present to you, I think, the greatest wrestler to ever come out of Great Britain, William Regal.
Yes, tremendous wrestler. Always made fun of Rodney's shoes for some reason.
We all do that. So.
He did not like me wearing I had black sneakers, comfortable shoes, because I'm running all over the arena. He did not like the fact that I was wearing those. And they blend in. Nobody would be, except for him. He's the only one that ever noticed that I was wearing black Nikes instead of wearing dress shoes.
He was so good. When we first saw him World Championship Wrestling, he was being. I don't think at the beginning. I don't know that I remember seeing him until Bill Dundee managed him. I'm pretty sure he was there. I just wasn't watching the television program. I remember telling Grizzly Smith one time, he said, "Do you not know who these people are?" I said, "I don't watch the show. I don't know who these people are." I said, "I haven't watched the show here."
Because he was Steve Regal when he came to Georgia, to World Championship Wrestling first, and he had not taken on the royalty yet. when he first got
Tremendous
there.
when he did that though. He did that gimmick so well. And when they put Bill Dundee with him, I thought that worked out very well. That Bill used to he was the manager, he was the heel, but Bill would always sit out there with us because he said, I'm tired of hearing them guys complaining there. Sit out here. He's they're making more money than we ever made, and they're out there griping and complaining and working 4 days a week. What in the world? We're working 9 times during a week and wasn't making that kind of money. But yeah, Steven Regal, tremendous wrestler. All right, folks. That is our look at the top 100 wrestlers. And now I guess it's time to talk to the insiders and see what the insiders have got to say. Howdy, folks. From Chaplain Freddie Rooster Roper. How you doing? Richard Hood is with us. Richard, how you doing, Richard? Victor Nash is also. Well, man, I was like this.
Sound like you choked on your spit.
I think I did. Hello all. Had a great weekend and Halloween. Yes, it was a good week. Hey everyone, Jason Mundy. Wendy Harkins said, "Hey guys, Jack, love that sign behind you."
Wendy gave that to me at the Russell South show the other night.
Tremendous.
Which, by the way, before I forget, Greg Hickey also came and brought me a cigar, and I just want to point out that he is the only insider to bring me a cigar. And I'm not saying y'all are slacking, but some of y'all are slacking.
Dr. Phil Bogras says, "Hello, gentlemen. Greetings from South Alabama." Tim said, "A funny night tonight." Charles Bellflower, number 73, the Missouri Mauler, Larry Hamilton from Charles Bellflower. I don't know that I ever saw him wrestle.
No, I never did.
Rodney, did you ever see him?
I've only saw him on YouTube, but he was supposed to be at one of the shows in Atlanta that we went to. And when we got there, he didn't show up, or I don't know, double booked. I'm not sure. He was not there that particular night.
Next week, by the way, I'm working on the Freebirds number 8. Freebirds number 8. Good stuff, by the way. I've been working on that the last 2 or 3 days. By the way, those things take a long time to do research for. That's the reason it takes a long time to get back to those. It takes a lot. Hello from Charles Alford.
Hey, Charles.
Tim also said, "Jack is one of the best storytellers and writers I know."
Well, I plagiarize a lot. Thank you, Vice TV, for a lot of the info I had.
Hello, guys, from Glenn Shelton. Kevin Penley. Hi, guys. My wrestling question is, back in the 50s and 60s, who was the most powerful in the NWA? Barnett or Muchnick? Or did Barnett work under Muchnick? I think Jim Barnett was pretty strong in that time. But, I don't know that. I would say Muchnick was pretty more powerful than Jim Barnett. What do y'all guys think?
From what I have read and gathered, I would agree with that.
I think Jim Barnett maybe later on in the years, but not not in the 50s and 60s. Because what year did he go to Australia, Rodney? What year did Jim Barnett go to Australia?
It was the late 60s, I think.
So yeah, I would think Muchnick was more powerful. Now, all those people that was a part of the National Wrestling Alliance were pretty powerful people. It was like the mafia or something if you were a part of the National Wrestling Alliance. So, now, what was you going to say, Rodney?
I was not going to say anything.
Well, you was like you was going to say something.
No, I think I almost fell out of the chair, but we're not going to talk about that.
Richard has said, Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight boxing champion.
He sure was.
Paul said Jack Johnson beat Canadian Tommy Burns. Kevin Penley, how good of a wrestler was Roy Welch? Evidently, it was tremendous. When you can go into a place, You can walk into Memphis, Tennessee when they're having wrestling, and you can tell those people, "Hello, I'm Roy Welch, and this is going to be the last week you have wrestling here. If you have a problem with that, you can take it up with me." That meant he had a reputation that the people said, "Okay, yeah, I'm leaving." So he had to be tough. I mean, how do you do that if you don't have your reputation already and people don't know who you are? And they said, "Well, he could beat us all." So they just leave. That's how he ended up promoting Memphis, Tennessee. Somebody else was promoting it. He just walked in there and said, "I'm going to promote from now on. You're gone."
That's the way to do it.
That if you're not a great wrestler, he had to be a great wrestler, and people had to know it. Michael Barr, hello from Southeast Alabama. I'm in Dr. Philbo Grice in the same vicinity. Wendy Harkin said, "Thanks, Jack. That was a great story." Tim, yes, weekly. I miss it the way it was. Weekly wrestling was so. It was so good because that continuous. People say, "Well, storylines hurt." Wrestling always had storylines. They didn't call them storylines. They called them programs. If Tommy Rich was going against Buzz Sawyer, that would be considered a program, and usually that went 12 weeks. In that territory system, in the Southern Territory system, it usually ran 12 weeks. Now, if you were WWF or WWF, it ran for 6 months because they didn't go to the same towns over and over again, so they could do that. They could do this to 6 months, but weekly was about a 12-week program. Now, that does not mean that sometimes that 12 week would hit and they wouldn't do something because it still was drawn. And they'd do something on that match to bring it to bring it out a little bit further. But what was the question? I forgot now what I was saying. Oh, the weekly shows. That wasn't even a question. It's just all right. Y'all go ahead and
Tim, when you're going, what towns when you think back those days? What towns did you go to? Participate in the wrestling matches. Let us know.
We went every Thursday night to Rome, Georgia for months. We went to Chattanooga a lot, Carrollton, Georgia a lot, Marietta, Georgia, Atlanta. So we got to see a lot of wrestling.
Think about. I was just thinking about Atlanta. How many shows ran off of one market, off that one TV? You had Atlanta, you had Marietta, you had Carrollton, you had Griffin, Athens, and Rome to a certain extent. So 6 towns ran in a week off the same market.
Yeah. And all drew pretty good, decent crowds. Kevin Penley has a question, and I think we can all answer this. This is, why doesn't EMF use a drop kick? Because if you actually use a drop kick, I don't know that you actually knocked the guy down, and if you miss that, you're going to be in trouble because that guy's going to jump on you and he's going to beat you. A dive. There's a reason why they don't do a dive. They look crappy on wrestling, and a super kick. They can't use a super kick. I think the wrestlers have that sewed up.
Well, they do the round kicks, of course, which those are legitimate. I've never seen an actual fight in with a super kick. And as far as the dive, they'll do a leg dive.
Yes,
but ain't nobody coming off the top of that cage. For one, it's illegal, and they actually enforce rules there.
What?
And I have seen a drop kick, though. I have.
Tim Tweed said no to the storylines they were meant to bring back next week, so you wouldn't miss the live matches. Yes. Tim also said people used to use this for soul entertainment. Smells. So what in the world is he smelling?
Smell the smells and watch it. That's what
okay. Yeah. I didn't know what that meant.
It was something you would go to the matches. You could smell the popcorn going when you come through the door. I had the guys selling the programs and the pictures and that kind of thing. It was totally immersive.
And we've talked about that, about the atmosphere of a lot of those arenas back then. It's you don't duplicate that today. You can't find that the way we had it, back in our time.
No. The lobby as you're walking into the Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, there was nothing like it. it was so much going on as you're going through there, because it was the kind of the crossroads of where people were going to their seats, and you had the concession stand and the people set up there selling the pictures and the programs. It was something.
Did you two guys ever see at Boutwell when you first come in the front where it had Wrestling King of Sports mural? You know, they've got that covered up half for years now, but that shows you that wrestling built that arena. That was its primary purpose of being there, and a lot of arenas, that was their bread and butter. Yeah, hey, get a concert, that's great, but wrestling's going to be here every week.
And it was for Chattanooga as well.
Yeah,
I mean, they were all over the manager there. Why isn't the auditorium turning, the profit like it used to? And they said, well, I don't have weekly wrestling events in here anymore. You fixed that when you messed up the floor.
All right, we're going to go back to Kevin Pendley, because Kevin Pendley said Nick did his own interviews in the record break and the record break. The buildings only have 5,000. I think that needs to be talked about a little bit. Do you believe AEW could go back to a town weekly and draw 5,000 people every week? Jack?
Not with the program they have now. Now, if somebody come in there and jerk knot there, like Dutch Mantel, who knows how to set up storylines and programs and, actually build a wrestling show. Yeah, I think they could. I think they could. I think WWE could. I think any program that had good wrestling and good programs, I believe they could draw on a weekly basis. Now, saying that, with what the product is now, no.
Rodney?
The insinuation that was only 5,000 people, you have to say, you have to take that through the entire year. That's 52 shows in a year. I'm going to say, if you say that's only, let's not say they sell it every week. Say on average they do 3,000 people. That's 150,000 tickets sold in a year. Where do they do that at? In Birmingham, in Chattanooga? They don't. They simply don't. I don't believe they can. They only hit the very big shows. Most of the time, if you see it, if they have, 1,000 people or what have you, if they may have 3,000 people and they call that good, fine. But they only come to the market twice a year, if that. And I haven't seen them in Chattanooga in years.
WWE ran somewhere, I think it was last Friday's SmackDown show, or maybe it was the week before, 12 or 15,000 seat arena, and sold 4,200 tickets. So,
well, number one, the tickets are way too expensive these days.
Right. And I as far as the product today, like I said, those shows are not geared to bring people to the show. They're just not. And back then, the wrestling was built more as the home team, the hometown advantage, the hometown, like you would have a local baseball team or the college football team. They had a following in that way.
Well, and let's get off on this track for just a second, is that promoters back then knew how to not put everything they do on TV. There's absolutely no incentive for me. If they came to Gadsden, Alabama, AEW is at our 1,200 seat arena over here, and they're wanting $100 a ticket, but I can sit in my living room and see everything they do. I have no incentive to go.
Nope.
None whatsoever. So if there's guys on the show I want to see, I'll meet them at Buffalo Wild Wings when it's over with.
Wow. Well, and both have oversaturated themselves on television with TV. WWE, I think, what is that? They have 3, 5, 7 hours worth of original programming each week, so there's no need for you to go.
No, you shouldn't. I mean, why would you go? I mean, because the tickets are just extraordinary, and why can they not understand that professional wrestling needs to be took more seriously than it's being done right now. If they just would take it serious, then maybe the fans would take it serious, and maybe more people would watch the show. It's the same people watching the show each and every week, I believe, and that's the people who wants to laugh. They're not watching it for what we watched it for. We watched it for great wrestling matches. We watched it to see Wrestling 2 and Dick Slater wrestle each other. And we're going to hope that Dick Slater loses so he can wear the I'm the Turkey mask and he'll keep that thing on. And then, Dick Slater, he didn't want to take the mask off because he loaded that mask and won the Georgia Heavyweight Championship. Then he said, I'm not taking the mask off anymore. I'm gonna wear this mask from now on. He just kept on doing that until Wrestling 2 wrestled him and he had to take the mask off. So it was all all told.
It was great stuff. It was really great stuff.
Tim said I used to hate hockey until I saw it in person. By the way, hockey is, if you've never seen it in person, it is very entertaining.
Unlike golf, which is never entertaining.
Those were the best days. I miss the old days. Wendy Harkins said that. Number 73, Victor Nash has got number 73, and he was one-time NWA Hawaiian Heavyweight Champion and three-time Hawaiian Tag Team Champion. Had a great old rivalry with Rick Martel. The one and only Steve Strong. I'm not for sure I even know who Steve Strong is.
I'm going to have to look him up.
Yeah, he's, I believe, out of California. He was.
I think I have seen him. Yeah, I think I have seen him. It seemed like he was wrestling maybe he was in Canada. Was he in Canada?
Patricia, Billy Brooks, Chattanooga was great TV, and then the matches on Saturday night.
Yeah, and you knew it was going to be big when they pulled the bleachers out on the stage there at Memorial Auditorium.
Yes, and it happened many times, by the way. And this would be every Saturday night, and sometimes when Dad was growing up, it was Thursdays and Saturdays.
Yes,
they would run both and sell out both of them. Logan, West Virginia, Boone County still has consistent shows through Gary. What's the name?
Dameron.
Is he drawing good houses, good crowds? Because I've seen some up in New Jersey and stuff. The tremendous crowds.
There's a lot of promotions out in Texas that are drawing some massive crowds now.
Question to all here, young and older. What would it take now to make anyone a fan now to the kayfabe wrestling?
That's by approach.
Yeah, I think it's
how you approach it.
I think, I go back and I look at that All Elite Wrestling and I seen that 8-man tag match with them dressed up like, they don't even take their own business serious. The wrestlers don't even take it serious. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega think it's a joke. They think professional wrestling is a joke. And they come over as a joke, and they're only going to draw a certain amount of people. Steve Austin did not think professional wrestling was a joke, and he did not come over as a joke. Moxley thinks he's an action star that's going to get explosions and all that kind of stuff. It's about that emotional connection, and they're not going to get that with that stupid stuff they're doing. It's like watching Dumb and Dumber. I mean, it's ridiculous.
You can do some silly kind of funny stuff, but when the wrestling starts, it needs to be serious. And I'll give you an example of back in the day. Dick Slater, 6-man tag. He does Steve Magnum TA against 3 of the Horsemen. And it's a bunkhouse match. They're all jeans, T-shirts, actually doing a bunkhouse match. Hey, and he comes out with this big foam cowboy hat on. And everybody in the arena is laughing about it. It's funny. But once he hits the ring, he's beating people up. There's nothing funny about it anymore. You know, and that's the difference. It's okay to be a little joke or a little funny, but when that bell rings, all that's got to go out the window.
Yeah, it's got to be serious at that point. I mean, Bob Armstrong went out there and made fun of Cowboy Ron Bass. He put the big old hat on too, and he said, "Hey, look at me, I'm the big cowboy Ron Bass. The bigger hat you got, evidently the bigger wrestler you are." So just a great interview. Like that.
Head is big head, small brain, or something like that.
And it was good, but I guarantee you, and they would do some comedy spots. Don't get me wrong, the comedy spots were being done, but it was not done the way that it's being done today. It just wasn't. And I miss those days. And that's the type of wrestling that I want to see. I want to see it again. I want to see that wrestling that people are taking. They take it serious. When they walk down the aisle, they're wrestlers. They walk down that aisle, they get ready to wrestle. And when they get in that ring, everything they do is going to look good, and it's going to make some sense to me. Man, that 8-man tag match, it made me cringe and cry. Young Bucks and Omega, they would not have made it in the wrestling days, in the territory days. They would have been hurt. The wrestlers, the people like Dick Murdoch, Ole Anderson, Gene Anderson, those guys would have hurt them, and they wouldn't have to worry about wrestling.
And Michael, if you the question, to go back to it, think about movies you watch and how you become emotionally involved and attached to the people that you're watching in that screen. You know what's going there is not real, but you somehow they're able to hit your emotions, make you cry, happy, sad, you'll go through the whole 9 yards in the movie, and they still are able to do it. So there's no reason why wrestling cannot do it.
Yeah, it's just not produced that way. Everybody thinks it's a comedy.
It's a comedy, and they don't take it seriously. And so as it comes out, if you don't take it seriously, you cannot produce it or make the people take it for serious.
People will say that, like Jim Cornette, and they'll say to him, well, he doesn't know but see, what he don't understand, why does he get mad over what's being done in professional wrestling? This is the reason he gets mad, because he went out there and people about stabbed him. People about beat him up. He about lost his life several times for the wrestling business. And he went out there and done that. And now you go out there and do this stupid stuff. Our father was the same way. I refereed and about got stabbed. I refereed and couldn't get out of the buildings. I had to take a chain and put it in just to get out and get to my car. I had people follow me home because they were mad because so-and-so didn't wrestle. And then you're going to take what I did. I helped build this business and this place. And you're going to take what I did and you're going to make a fun of it, and you're going to make a joke out of it. That was the problem that these wrestlers have a problem with. Michael Hayes, I'd even say Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy. These guys, Jim Ross is hating every minute of what he's doing. He's hating every minute of it, but he's being paid probably $1 million a year to go do it, so he doesn't care. But he don't like that. He don't like that because he was there. He saw that stuff happen. Why do you think Bill Watts don't? Because he fought himself. Ole Anderson. Well, Ole Anderson got stabbed and was back wrestling 2 days later. That's the reason they get mad, because they took all that and then everything they built.
The people were emotionally involved with the wrestlers. The wrestlers had made a connection, whether it be good or bad. They had made a connection with the fans, and that's the key. And that's the reason that Ole Anderson and Jackie Fargo still to this day, you mention wrestling, people mention their names. Even some of the young people who never see them, they know who they are because of their grandparents and parents.
Yes, it's sad. Maybe COVID might have changed this. I guess we're talking about the wrestling.
Ring of Honor.
Dr. Phil Bogart said, Rodney, I agree. Local wrestling was it. I used to wait with anticipation for Saturday afternoon on WTBY in Dothan. I knew how to use the show to bring people to the farm center that night. Today, I don't know how much people care. I don't think they care about any of the wrestlers. This is the way they're producing it. I mean, you know what? I watched General Hospital with my wife, and I'm going to tell you, I know Sonny. I know he really is not a mobster. I know that. And I know that certain characters on there, but they still involve me with those characters. They still know how to write a story that makes you care. And that's wrestling's got to have that. We've got to go back to making you care, not laugh, make you care. Dusty Rhodes make you laugh, but he also make you cry. Yeah. Dusty Rhodes will say, if you want them to laugh with you, you want them to cry for you, you want you to holler for you. When you're in pain, they should be in pain. And that's the reason Dusty Rhodes was over.
And he understood that. That's the key. He understood it. And when he wrestled in his latter days, he still got it. He still understood it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Tim said, I love hollering at the wrestlers, getting interactions and making it real. Tyrone Spivey is with us. Just wanted to say hello. Kevin Penley, Jack, are you a fan of wrestlers making their own matches?
Absolutely not. Now, I don't mind guys pitching in a lot of ideas. And honestly, if stuff's good, 75% of the time, I don't change a whole lot. I know how I want things to go. And as long as they can follow that direction, I don't really care if they take a side road to get there, as long as it's good and it makes sense with what the story is that we're trying to tell out there. Now, I give them a level of freedom. But no, you cannot let wrestlers pick and choose what they want to do, because at some point, their ego is going to become involved. And they're going to want to win when they don't need to win. Or they're going to say, well, I need to put so-and-so over because I need to prove that, I don't have an ego. But that doesn't help probably where I'm going. So you can't let guys have control because they don't understand the big picture. And that's not their fault. So no, I would never do that.
Kevin Bentley said my 73 isn't the original Dutch Mantel.
So that means it isn't the original Dutch Man. No, it is Wade Cowan then.
The Dutch we all know and love.
Yes. And he is just one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to wrestling that there is. He understands where you insert, where you can get your comedy. He understands when it's time to do when it's time to get serious, and he can gauge the crowd to see what they're buying in that night. That's talent. That is experience, and he knows how to do it.
I will wrap up how I feel about him is if I were Vince or if I were Tony Khan, I would be throwing whatever dollar amount it took to get Dutch to leave Tennessee and come to wherever I'm at and run everything I have.
Yeah.
That's how much faith I have in Dutch Mantel.
Yeah. I love how they used to ban the pile driver.
Yes.
That
was important.
Yeah.
That was very important to do that. In fact, Georgia, it was banned for years until.
Are you talking about the spot that they use now?
Yes.
Yeah, they use that
that was my finish for years too. So
Victor Nash said that the hold that Bryan Danielson used was the triangle choke code.
The choke code is,
but choke again goes. I mean, I understand they're wanting to incorporate MMA stuff. I never liked that though.
Yeah, it's against the rules of professional wrestling. At least it's supposed to be. You cannot choke a man. There's no rules. So how can you get any heat? That should have been a heel move. Referee gets knocked down. The guy chokes the guy down. He beats him 1, 2, 3. It shouldn't be the baby face choking someone down. This is not MMA. This is professional wrestling. So
yeah, and they did that with several holds back then. The sleeper holds was another one that they banned.
Yeah.
They banned Dick Slater from jumping off the top rope with the knee. So
they never got Vern Gagne, that cheater.
And you know what though, it was important though once the ban happened, and then the people saw it behind the referee's back, and he didn't catch it or the hold or this chokehold or whatever. Yep. Then the people are hot. That is key, and that psychology is brilliant.
Yep.
And that's the reason Dad would have to fight himself to the car. That's because that happened many times.
By the way, the WWE's killed a chair. They just killed that thing completely off the other night. Last night on Raw, they just killed the chair completely off.
How many times are they going to beat somebody? By the way,
that's just they just killed the chair.
How many times are they going to beat
off.
somebody with a kendo stick?
Every week, somebody keeps putting one underneath the ring. You would think they'd get up underneath and clean that stuff out.
Yeah,
that's the first thing I would do when I got out there. I'd say, "Whoop! Don't just cut my music. I'm not going up to the top rope. I ain't going to wave at people. I ain't doing any of that. I'm checking underneath the ring."
And
y'all, if you want to see a great comedy spot, I would go to the ring if I was a wrestler, and I'd bring a whole cleanup crew with me and make them go
Clean
under
it.
the ring and clean it out.
That would be perfect. And Vince is simply going to have to invest in better equipment. His turnbuckle pads can't stay on the ring, on the ropes, in the corners. His ropes break. He needs to invest in new rings. It is terrible equipment that he has.
What's his name said the Japanese sleeper hold is what he called it. Yeah, but now, hey, there could be different names for that. I mean, they have moves. Clotheslines are called different stuff now.
This is the reason why none of us do commentary, because we're like, yeah,
That's right.
that thing.
Taz, didn't Taz do something? Didn't Taz used to do something to a certain, like a sleeper hold, like they called the Taz mission or whatever it was? Did he not have that?
Yeah, I can't remember.
So it was
I remember it called the Taz mission, but I don't remember what it was.
Rick Brooks says hello to everyone. How you doing? Rick Brooks, this is what he said. He said, King Kong Mosca, Angelo Mosca, got into the fight with Joe. Yeah, Joe. That was his name, Joe Cap. Is that how you say his name?
Yep.
Former Minnesota Vikings quarterback. It is available on YouTube for those of you who want to see
I
it.
watched it here not long ago.
And that's where he nailed him. This is when he hit him with the cane.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. It was just great. It was,
Well, how old is Joe? How old is Joe Cap? Is he the same age?
It's about the same age, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was the battle.
It was like all the nurses at the nursing home were gasping in horror.
it was
awesome.
It was funny. Melbourne Auditorium in Florida. I can still smell Larry Vanderpool. That's the same thing with Birmingham Beltwell Auditorium. Tremendous place where there was a couple of places that was bad for wrestling, like Albany Civic Center, horrible. Augusta, Georgia, Richmond County Civic Center, horrible. But boy, the Bell Auditorium in Augusta. Oh man, that building was tremendous. It's just that's a lost that situation. This is what I liked about wrestling back then. They do the intermission right before the main event. It'd be right before the main event. Sometimes they do two intermissions. It'd be according to where they're at, but they do one intermission, and that bell would ring for that, and the electricity in the air when you could feel the people start talking because you knew, Wrestling 2 and Superstars next. And man, all Superstar did. There was no music. There was no nothing. All that they, some places had spotlight. Most of the time not, because they didn't want to pay for them. But if that spotlight would hit them, or they just walk down and people start seeing them slowly but slowly, they'd start, and the people would start booing, boo, 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 until when he stepped up on that ring apron, the people would boo him out of the building.
You're making the hair stand up on the back of my head.
All right. And then then he'd get in there and he'd stand for a while, and they'd wait just a little bit so people they'll die down a little bit. And then here comes Wrestling 2, and you see that white mask, and you see that robe, and the people, and when he get up to that, people would go nuts. That is such a mess, and it has not been done in wrestling in so many years that if it was done today, these younger people would just eat it up because it's different. It's retro. They love the retro stuff. So they wouldn't even know it was retro because they didn't watch it. But tremendous. It's just tremendous stuff at that time. That I miss that. I miss that type of wrestling. I miss that main event that you wanted to see. That main event. I remember the Omni didn't have as good of an atmosphere for some reason, but they still would do that because they did pay for the spotlights.
And everybody would get new stuff. Everybody would have new jackets. Olivia would have to work overtime to get them all done.
All right, let's now I don't remember where I was at. I got so excited about that. Now I don't remember where I was at. Victor Nash is the next one. Victor Nash said, Jack, the super kick was Shawn Michaels' finisher.
Yeah, but Shawn Michaels was not an MMA fighter.
By the way, Shawn Michaels' super kick was not as good as the originator. Though we got first guy I ever saw it was Gentleman Chris Adams, and boy, when he hit that thing, it looked good. Now these super kicks today, they don't even make contact with the people. They're just way.
We don't have to. If you can slap your leg loud enough, I guess they figured that the distance doesn't mean anything.
I saw Brian Danielson. I saw him do that in that match with I saw. Man,
It embarrassed you so bad, didn't it, Brent?
It
You just wanted
did,
to climb up underneath your chair.
That was the one takeaway from those matches that I saw that I didn't like. Everything else I thought was great, but the slapping.
I didn't see if Dustin did it. I didn't see it. If he did it to where nobody could see it. So, but man, it was just evident.
Now
I
Danielson also had a match. I can't think of that guy's name. The one he's tagging with John Moxley now. I never thought the guy was really that great, but man, they tore the house down on their match too.
Yeah,
Apparently, Brian Danielson is the key to everybody in that company having great matches.
But I've heard that he said he didn't want to wrestle as many times. I've heard the story that he said that he did not want that they're making him wrestle too many times, and he thought that if they keep continuously doing that, people would get tired of seeing him wrestle. And there's probably some truth in.
Well,
truth in
and not only that, but
Yeah.
let's remember, the injuries he's coming off on. So if you're going to keep him long term, then you need to not have him wrestling as much. And
Yeah.
when he does wrestle, it means something. Hey, there's
Yeah.
a novel theory. Make a match mean something.
Oh,
Number
you said
73.
too
Steve
much
Richards.
now, Jack. I'll tell you right now, they'll be having a hitman on you now.
Super
Number
kick. I'll
70
be okay. They'll miss this one.
Number 73, Sweet Daddy Sika. And for
Yeah.
those of you who have not
Good
seen Sweet Daddy Sika, you have to look him up on
That's a
the
good
intro net.
There
On the
is
web-
a great documentary available. I know it's on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure if you have to rent it or not, but if you do have to rent it, I'm telling you, rent it because it is fantastic.
Let's see. Wendy Harkins. At the Boutwell Auditorium, you can smell the popcorn all the way outside sometimes. Yes.
You can smell it in the locker room too. It was great. I was always hungry.
Number 72 is Iron Man Mike Woody. The crap is that?
Mike is the guy that makes a lot of the wrestling masks now.
Oh, okay.
He
All
makes
right.
several for some of those AEW guys.
Kevin Penley asked the question to you, Jack. In Boutwell, Jack, would you say Nick had 500 to 700 people weekly?
No, I would say he had about 5,000 weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be on average. I would say Boutwell I would say on average they're doing about 3,500 every week, because 500 to 700 he would be changing bookers and talent if it was down that low.
That night, right in the middle of the show, he'd be walking out going,
Yeah, he'd be firing everybody. Now,
Right.
it doesn't mean that at the end when he was having difficulties with talent and that kind of thing that it didn't draw 500 to 700. But no, when he was doing his major business, he was racking it up.
Yeah.
Let's just be very clear. Nick Gulas had $3 million saved just by running what towns he ran over the years. Now, many of the payoffs was also in his pocket, but we're not talking about that at this time.
Nick Gulas was I know that people believe that Jerry Jarrett, what he says about Nick Gulas, they're believing everything Jerry Jarrett says. But Jarrett, at the same time, that's the same man that said he created wrestling too. So let's remember this when you're listening to Jerry Jarrett tell you how bad Nick Gulas was. I'm not saying Nick Gulas wasn't a bad human being. I'm not saying that, but he was a decent promoter in wrestling. I mean, Nashville, Tennessee, they were still drawing great people at that. Remember, that's not called the Jerry Jarrett Sports Arena. It was called the Nick Gulas Sports Arena because Nick Gulas was the one that drew tremendous crowds there.
Yeah.
Yes, Jerry Jarrett may have won in Memphis. He may have won in Memphis, but he didn't win in Nashville. He did win in Chattanooga. He tried to run Chattanooga. He didn't draw in Chattanooga. He tried to run Nashville. Nick Gulas was the one. He tried to run Chattanooga on a Thursday night, and it did not draw for him, so he quit running. So when he tells you how great he is, and I'm not saying he wasn't, but he wasn't any better than Nick Gulas. I think
when you go down to it, though, when it goes down to who was the greatest promoters at Birmingham and in Chattanooga, in Nashville, I think Nick Gulas wins that hands down.
Yeah, because they drew consistently. And I have a great deal of respect for Jerry Jarrett.
Yes.
I'm not. Don't let anybody not think I don't have to. But I don't have respect for you to just keep on knocking Nick Gulas, and when it's not even true. That's not true.
Nick
He
was a
was a
great
horrible
promoter.
playoff man.
Yes.
We'll agree with that. Was probably what the greatest human being in the world. We'll probably agree with that. But let's remember, Jerry Jarrett used to pay guys $20 a night. So ask The Rock if he was that great.
So you're saying Jarrett learned from the best?
Yes. Yeah.
Did we discuss the heat between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Jeff Jarrett?
Yes.
Of when Steve's looking at his check in the Memphis dressing room, and Jarrett says, "Don't look at it too long, kid. It ain't getting no bigger." So, yeah, that.
Jarrett was a smart man.
Yes, he was. And for years, a lot of what we saw in the 80s and 90s, especially when it comes to even Jim Crockett Promotions, their success in the 80s, it came from Jarrett. I mean, those people, Rock and Roll Express, Bobby Eaton, all came from him. So it didn't.
Yeah, I'm not discrediting Jerry Jarrett and how successful he was,
and
he was
intelligent and just creative as all.
Yeah, very creative. But I don't like it when he knocks Nick Gulas because most of the stuff he said is done.
At the end of the day, let's remember that he's not in business anymore. So there's that.
Rick Brooks, I grew up with the Sheik's Detroit promotion, attending the match in Cincinnati every other Saturday. When the younger Sheik was decent there, I think he was there too long. I think Sheik was there long. But the same thing happened in Continental. The Fullers were there too long. They just was there. 7 years is about the most you can get out of somebody in one territory. After that, they start not drawing any money anymore. Victor Nash, yes, AEW had daisies placed in Orlando during the pandemic.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that admission was free.
There you go. Mickey Mayfield, Atlanta Municipal Auditorium. First thing you would notice coming in was the crunch of peanut shells, the smell of cigars, and the sticky floors.
Let me add to that aroma.
Boy, how I missed the whole experience. I do too, Mickey. That's what the wrestling fans are missing today. That type of experience.
We have talked many times of my love for the Atlanta City Auditorium. I mean, I went to a lot of arenas in my time. As a fan, I went to a lot of arenas. Nothing ever beat the Atlanta City Auditorium.
Yeah, that was a tremendous place. Tremendous place. That just made sure that you kicked the rodents away from you. That was to make sure you did that, because they would. I think a couple of times they actually were standing up cheering for Dusty Rhodes, and that was in the old
that different
Buffalo, in the old Buffalo War Memorial, you could smell whatever chemical they used to make the ice. For the what?
Sabres.
Oh, yeah.
And 50 years of stale beer and 50 years of circus.
Yes. Hey, you could smell. You knew when the circus had been there, and that's in every arena we've been to. Boy, the circus must have been here, and you can smell it for sure.
He said, "Oh, it was awful, but I missed that smell. Smell like."
Yeah.
Knoxville, Tennessee had a great atmosphere. That Civic Coliseum had a great atmosphere.
Absolutely did.
The Houston County Farm Center could hold quite a few fans. Do you know that 5,000? I believe
5,000. Right.
And they would pack that Dothan Farm Center out for several weeks in a row for about 4 or 5 months. 5,000 people would get packed into that. And that was the power of WTVY TV. It was so strong. People were watching that. That was like they were getting 10s and 12s as far as ratings was at that time. And they may not draw every time. They'd be like this. They'd have that roller coaster and they go right back down, and they would level off about 1,000 fans. And then they'd say, okay, we're going to keep it there just for a while. And then we're going to hit this angle. And it's going to go up. We've seen it happen with Lord Humongous being turned on Ron Fuller. He turned on Ron Fuller, and it went from drawing like 800 to 1,000 people to 5,000 in 1 week. So the power of television is very important.
Yeah,
It is very
same
important.
thing happened. It was deader than a doornail. And then Ron Fuller and Bob Armstrong teamed together against Arn Anderson and Jerry Stubbs and Sonny King, and that place was packed. It was a slow build.
That
And
goes
we got it.
back to what we were saying about TV back then. Gave them a reason to come to the arena. They didn't give them the show.
No.
You had to buy a ticket to see the show.
Yeah. And occasionally they would give you the big angle on television. That was the angle, followed by the program, which would most of the time be 12 weeks in those territories, and then the blow off. And then they started over again. Maybe with somebody new, or maybe because it's still drawed. Hey, we'll just keep on doing this until it quits drawing. And then we'll figure out what to do after that. Larry Vanderpool agreed. I don't know what he agreed with, but
Everything.
Yes, sir. Return to kayfabe. Yes, I just want it to be. You know what I want? I want to be able to watch wrestling and not feel dirty or something watching it. You know what I'm saying?
You're intelligent. Feel like that you're being treated stupid and they don't value you as a viewer. Yeah. That's exactly what I feel.
Besides changing the product, kayfabe very simply could be practiced nowadays if everybody inside would quit talking to everybody outside about what's going on.
Right.
That's it. That's simple.
And that would be
at
simple.
At its core, that's what kayfabe was. Just shut up.
Right.
Exactly. I agree with you. Wendy Harkins, she just said, hey, why go to the AEW shows when you can watch the highlights on YouTube? And even why watch the TV shows when you can watch
exactly right.
Do you know that WWE YouTube channel is the 8th largest YouTube audience of everything that's out there on YouTube? There's 7 other people higher than them. I think they've got like somewhere around 88 million subscribers to their YouTube channel. That's impressive, but that also, I believe, may eat in, because you look at, they'll do 700,000 views on there. I think that eats into the actual.
Well, I think the ability to skip over any match that contains T-Bar is the way to go.
Yes. Mine is Dolph Ziggler.
Do you know they say he was one of the, and I don't see that happening. He was one of the richest WWE. Have you seen this story? He's one of the richest. Now, how could he be one of the richest?
If I was him, I'd go ahead and take my money and go home.
He has been there forever and a day. Vince likes him. He's a utility guy. Whatever you want done, Vince, he can do it.
So he must be paid good money.
I wish they would put him running the camera or something. That way he can be behind it and you don't have to see him. He's awful.
He can probably do a better job than, it's Kevin Dunn. It's not the camera guys. I don't blame the camera guys. This is Kevin Dunn.
Joey D. Silva, get back to the roots. And I agree with you, get back to the roots. Dad always said that if you want to start drawing wrestling again, you get back to the basics. You give them wrestling. And then after you give them wrestling for about 3 months, you hit an angle, you go start drawing money.
It's painful. And it's painful during that time, but you gotta, if you can, it's gonna be rough. But once you hit it, you can hit it. And one of the great ones that did that was the Fields did it repeatedly. When their crowds were off, they went back to basics and it started building back up. George Scott, the king of it. I mean, the Carolinas was down. He wrestled for over a year, and when he got it, it stayed there for 3 years going, and they did nothing but money during those 3 years. It was awesome.
Larry Vanderpool said Cactus Jack was exactly that. Funny, but then when he got in the ring, he was business.
Yes,
exactly. But he respected the wrestling business. He wasn't going to do anything that would harm the wrestling business. Charles Alford said Jon Moxley is a wannabe action hero, and he's not very good at that. And the Young Bucks disrespect tag team wrestling every week. I think they disrespect the wrestling business in general. Everything they do is over the top and comedic. It's just I watched them have a good match with the Lucha brothers, whatever they
Brother,
are,
yeah.
Lucha brothers. I had a great that the match was good, but then when you watch them again, they did the same exact thing over and over again. So if you watch them once, you're fine. You watch them 4 or 5 times, you go, "Oh man, didn't I just see that?"
So that goes back to what we were talking about. Of course, Michael Hayes said it as well. And when you work the territory, it required you to come with something different every single week, more innovation and more creativity. And I think that's what they're missing. They don't have to. They only have to do is make the people laugh and entertain themselves every week.
And that's what they did. Right, Jack, a little fun every so often is okay. But when I was into it years ago, it was a hard fought wrestling. Yes. Richard Hood, comedy is good, but it was time to work. You have to work. Yeah, you can't just have comedy matches. Right. Thanks, Rodney, for Larry Vanderpool. Now also in Florida, the only air condition I had as a kid was at the wrestling matches.
Some nights we didn't have that.
No, a lot of the places didn't have air conditioning.
No, the Royal Gym in Rome did not have any air.
My youngest daughter had not been to wrestling in quite a while, and we took her Saturday night. And the first question she wanted to know is, "Daddy, does this place have air conditioning?" And I said, "Well, why?" And she said, "Well, because the other places I used to go didn't have air conditioning. I don't want to go if it don't have air conditioning."
There's truth to that. I mean, there's truth to that.
Michael Barr, we need the baby faces and heels. That is it. Yes, I truly believe you got to have that. You've got to have that. You've got to have that heel that you're building. You have to have that baby face you're building, and eventually put them together. There's a simplicity to that. It's not that easy. You still got to have a reason for them not to like each other, and a reason why they want to wrestle each other. And you got to know what you're going to do with them. I want to ask y'all this question. Watching AEW wrestling, do you believe they know what they're going to do 12 weeks from now?
No.
I don't believe they know what they're doing 12 minutes from now.
No. I can tell you no.
Because if he did, we was talking about this earlier. If he did, he wouldn't beat. If he knew he was going to put Darby Allin against MJF, he would have made sure that he didn't put him against CM Punk, so he would get beat. So I don't think that's long term book. And if it is, it's not smart. You wouldn't take one of your main characters on a television program and just keep on beating them and beating them and beating them and think anybody care anything about them. And he just keeps on doing stupid stuff. Is WWE doing the same thing? No long term booking. Just hey, this is what we're going to do this week.
No, I think that WWE tries to do some storylines. I think they overdo some. Seth Rollins, I think anything that he's involved in is way too overdone. It's the same interviews, even when he goes from Edge to whoever it is he's going against now. It's the same type of long, drawn out interviews. And he may be good at what he does, but too much of a good thing is not a good thing.
Kevin Penley asked the question, how many matches you see Omega, Young Bucks lose on TV? Not many. Their office, it doesn't happen. And I think that's going to be the downfall of AEW. I think people seen Cody Rhodes should not have beat whatever his name, Black, whatever his name is now, is Aleister Black is his name.
Malachi Black.
He should not have beat him. But the only reason he beat him because he's one of the people up top, and that's what people are looking at. They'll eventually turn on. I'm telling you, if they keep these people around on television, it'll eventually turn on them.
The fans are turning on Cody already
because he was like the leader of this group, of this band of people who said, "Oh, they're treating all these WWE wrestlers bad, and we all going to come over here and they're going to treat us great." Oh no, by the way, I'm leaving to do a movie. Oh, by the way, I'm leaving to go do that TV show. Oh, now I'm doing Roads to. It should not be done. That Roads to the whatever that thing. His reality show should not be done.
My personal opinion is he and Brandy are coming off as real heels on there. Yeah, I don't think it's doing them any favors.
I mean, they are doing things in the backstage area where they're getting through, getting beat on television. Then they're back in the back hugging each other, saying, "Oh man, that was a good match. That was great." Well,
No.
When you do that, you're just people just. We know that all these shows. We know that what these shows we watch. We know General Hospital is not real, but they're not getting on the show somewhere going, "Oh, by the way, when we did that, well, that was."
So you're saying after somebody dies on the program, they're shot and killed, they don't jump up out of the floor and say, "Man, that was some great acting. It was so fantastic. I was thrilled. I was in the moment. I felt your pain when you did it." As you were there and the last breath that you took, and I especially like the little touch of your eyes rolling back in your head like that. That was fantastic. Yes, he says, "Well, that's what my mother used to do when she was all passed out after drinking the evening. She would lay in that chair with her eyes rolled back in her head like that." I'm surprised they say, "Cut, hold it. Time out. We're going to take a brief commercial here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in just a moment. We'll pick up right where we left off, right after you see these very important words."
I cannot get into the image of today's wrestling. It does not connect with me. And certain things will connect with me, but most of the time it's all comedy. It just I can't get into it because of the comedy.
Even when they do something that's serious, they bookend it with comedy stuff.
By the way, yes, Larry, yes, I watched General Hospital. I watched Stone Cold on there, not Steve Austin. He's, yeah, you know what? I'd rather watch General Hospital any day.
I think what
that they got going on today.
What he's trying to say is, yeah, right. You're watching it because your wife is forcing you to watch it. No.
No, he don't force it. Listen, I used to watch. Now, I will say I used to frontwards it up, but I would tape Days of Our Lives because Stefano DiMera was on there.
Yeah.
And I would tape it. And
the greatest villain on TV. Yes, it was fantastic.
Greatest villain ever on television. And I would just frontwards to his parts. And I would watch that part. I didn't like the sappy stuff on there. I like to see Stefano DiMera and Tony DiMera and those two characters I liked. Those were true heels. Hey, by the way, AEW, just go ask them to let you see what a heel is and see how you build the heat between Stefano DiMera and
Cody doesn't want any of that. No, that's gone.
Yeah.
Except when you watch his reality show, you can see all you want to of it.
There wasn't any air conditioning at the Eddie Graham Sports Stadium, but in Lakeland and West Palm Beach there was.
Wow.
You mean to tell me
that sports stadium and that was in Orlando? That place was packed every week, wasn't it, Michael?
Let's see. I think there you are, Brent. The writers know how to get the audience involved. Richard Hood, the fans back in the day lived vicariously through the wrestlers. I agree with you there. Agree, Jack. I just thought about today all of the things that we were supposed to do, and I was talking about some of the new people, the affiliates that we have now that's helped us sponsor to pay for the show. We will go back to that next week because I just thought about we just forgot to do all of that. We'll get back to that next week. Agree, Jack. You're the owner of your organization. Your wrestlers do not rule you.
No successful business lets the employees run it.
No. Let's see. We're replying to everybody here. So let me go back. Michael says to us, remember Dick Slater saying he slipped on a banana peel when he lost the Florida title? But see, that was just Don Carson used to get on television. He'd get beat every week, but he would come back out there and say, last time in Knoxville, I beat this man. Ron Wright did the same thing. I beat this man. And the people that was sitting at home go, wait a minute. No, it was the other way around. He's the one that got beat. And he lied and lied and lied. Buddy Landell was good at that. Buddy Landell did the same thing. He could be beat every week. And he'd get on TV and say how much he beat everybody, and there wasn't nobody better than him. And the people that went to the arenas went, no, he got beat last time. I don't know if Buddy Landell ever won a match except for television. I'm sure he ever won one. But he had more heat than anybody. because he knew how to do it, because he had watched Don Carson. He had watched Ron Wright. He had seen how they got heat in Knoxville. That's where he grew up at. So he knew that's what he was going to pattern himself at. Believe me, he had the black glove, if you remember. He brought that back out in USA Championship Wrestling. Just
and then again, that's psychology. That is talent. That's what that when you have the expertise, that's what he did. And Slater, even he lost it, but he came back and got back just because I slipped on a banana. Well, what banana peel? He didn't slip on no banana peel. He just lost that match.
Yeah,
Slater was very good.
That was just the way things were back then, and it worked good. Hello, guys. Please share some memories of the Houston County Farm Center. Boy, that was a hot place.
Yes, it was.
And I always said this. The worst thing that ever happened to the Houston County Farm Center was when they took that dirt out of there and put that
yes,
and they took the ring light down off the place.
Yes.
You have to have a ring light, I believe. I think you have to have that focus directly to the ring. If you got all the lights on, a lot of times people won't make as much noise for some reason.
Yeah,
I guess they're afraid they're going to be seen or something. I'm not for sure.
Yeah.
But the Houston County Farm Center, like we were talking about, that we would go for week upon week, and towns was really bad. When they tell you, when the owners and the people of that time period will tell you that every week they were selling out, and boy, they were doing gangbuster business. Listen, we were there. We seen that place so empty. And I thought this was a tremendous deal that Ken Wayne did. He was going against, I believe it was Steve Armstrong and Johnny Rich. I believe they were Rat Patrol, right?
Right.
And he had, every Saturday morning you would, Friday nights you would go into Dothan, you spend the night. So he got the soap. He got one of the little soap things, and he took that soap bar and he rubbed it in Steve Armstrong's eyes, and man, he took it and threw it out to the crowd. Now, when he threw it at the crowd, he threw it to nobody because there was nobody in that area. It was empty. The people had to run to it. That's how empty this building was. All right, so wrestling didn't always draw, and it did not always sell out. But there was a time right after that. That's when Lord Humongous was there, and but it just showed the people were just waiting for something to happen. And when they did that, Lord Humongous, and he turned, that it's just incredible. The TV was just incredible. WTVY TV was incredible. And Dothan, it just was. And it showed that but we seen so much happen there. We one night we were there, and it was the last night. That was the night Bob Armstrong came back. The team with Ron Fuller, and they did a great job at building this thing up with Bob Armstrong. He would send in videos, and Ron Fuller said, "No, I don't want Bob Armstrong as a partner. He did me wrong. I don't want nothing to do with him." Then he brought in Rick McGraw, Andre the Giant, a bunch of people. I can't remember who he brought in. Every week he'd bring in somebody different to team with him, and he'd always get beat. And then when he brought Bob Armstrong in, that same show, Jerry Stubbs hit our father, Ron West, busted him open on television. So that night he's refereeing first. I think this is his first or second match. He goes out there. He goes to go 1-2, and he had cut, and blood just started pouring out of his head from where he got hit. So they had to carry him off. He couldn't even finish doing the referee. So he finally comes back for the main event. They do it to him again, beat him up. And he is being beat up by Arn Anderson and Jerry Stubbs and Sonny King. And he is grabbing at the thing, telling people to help him. And the people were just coming from everywhere. 5,000 people, and they're all coming towards the ring because he's telling them he needs help. He needs help. And Jerry Stubbs and Arn tell him, stop that. Stop that. He said, they're going to kill us. Stop it. And he's still there. And the fans actually grabbed a hold of him and took him out of that ring and all surrounded him so they couldn't beat him up anymore. That is what's missing in pro wrestling. And it
was very strong to the point that people were cussing Bob Armstrong and Ron Fuller out on the way to the cars. It was something.
Because they did not come and save them.
No.
They did not come and save him. And then the very next week on television, Ron Fuller gets on television and says, "Well, now we're not there because our father leaves there and goes back to Mid-South Wrestling." But he says, there you see Ronnie West, referee Ronnie West. He says, "Look at him, he's getting beat up, but you can tell look at his body. He's so out of shape. He's not a wrestler."
That's good.
And,
Still, he's never been to the gym. He's
you can tell he's not an athlete.
That was good.
All right, now let's move on because we're running out of time. We got about 5 minutes left, so let's get the rest of the people in. Larry said yes, it was Gentleman Chris Adams with the super kick. Victor Nash, did you guys see the Unbreakable table on Rampage Friday night during the Brett Baker? What's that?
Abaddon.
No, I did not see that.
I did. You didn't miss much.
So should all the tables be unbreakable from this point on?
Chris Adams, Savannah Jack did best super kick. I don't remember Savannah Jack doing a super kick.
I don't remember. I always liked Scott Armstrong because he never hurt me.
He did.
Eddie Kingston must be the guy that.
That was the guy that worked Brian Danielson.
Larry Vanderpool said he is good and reminds me of the old school Brian Danielson. Brian Young, did you miss my number 73? Satora Tiger Man.
Yes. He was super.
Yes.
He was super.
Which
Young, right there. Right there, the book.
Available on Amazon.
Yes. Keith Lester on the Houston County Farm Center. Remember that Arn Anderson got stabbed there by a fan when he and Jerry Stubbs lost the tag belts to Johnny Rich and the Tonga Kid. He also talked about how that was the dinkiest place he had ever wrestled. No, I'm going to tell you, the dinkiest place ever wrestled has to be La Ronja Coliseum in Largeville.
That's right. Well, let's not forget about Andalusia, Alabama. All right.
That's right.
Andalusia, Alabama.
He said you had to go outside to change your mind. He said, there was a little bitty dressing rooms in Dothan at the farm center. Them things were small. They eventually put up a curtain so guys could come out on the outside. Those were so small. So I can't believe they didn't have to fight with the farm center to do that. Agree, Jack. Make a match where people get involved. And if this was a storyline that ran for a couple of months, make it where the fans want to keep coming back to the auditoriums. Yes.
That's always been my intent. That's the way I was taught by Ronnie and Bob Armstrong and all is, people can't come every week. I get that, but make them regret missing.
Victor Nash said you've got to do a show on the top 20 promoters. And we'll do that. Michael Bark with wrestling barefooted, wear wrestling boots. Jack
preaching to the choir, brother. Absolutely, 100% agree.
Yes, Larry also told us. She said, "You wait in line for tickets, met people. Now you buy tickets online and don't meet anyone." And you know what? You did start. You'd see the same people every week. You got to know all the people every week. The Cow Patty Auditorium.
We learned that firsthand when we was set up on the third row at the Omni. And everybody knew each other. They made sure we come up there. Dad set us up there. And for whatever reason, got us. And we thought, what are you coming to get us for? Set us in the back. And we're like, well, we're sitting on third row.
Columbus, Georgia, where I sat in Columbus, Georgia, there was a group of anywhere from 12 to 15 of us, just according to, a couple of them might not be able to make it. But we had that large group. We all sat together every time because we got to know each other.
For those people who are not watching the Braves, evidently it's 3-0. 3-0, and I believe that's Houston.
Yeah, well, they've had the lead that early before and still managed to drop the ball.
If the Rotans were standing up cheering for Dusty Rose, then I would doubt it was Rodney's friend Kevin Sullivan. Dr. Philbo Bryce, my dad never cared for wrestling, but one day he happened to see Dutch Mantell pour motor oil over his head. He laughed so hard he almost fell out of his chair. Dutch connect with the audience. Yes, he could. Yes. I think that was a lot of them videos we did with Carl Stiles. That one or two made it off the cutting room floor. Hardly the camera that fell down the steps at the Bow Wow Auditorium. Jack, how it determined if a wrestler is a face or heel after the training?
Well, I mean, there's so many factors that goes in that. Some guys just have a natural look and a way of carrying themselves that tells you one way or the other that what they might be best at. But really, it boils down to what the promoter needs.
Larry said. Larry did tell me this was the General Hospital. Sonny and Jason. Jason Quartermain. He is Stone Cold on that show. He is the original Stone Cold. I believe he was Stone Cold before Steve Austin. He also watched As the World Turns. Michael Barr did before it was taken off the air. Now we'll hit one more, and then we've got to go. Victor Nash. You've got 10 minutes left. So, guys, if you're not a supporter, please become one. And also Pro Wrestling Tees to get Pro Wrestling Inside Now and get your T-shirts like that. And by the way, we had a couple of things. We had a craft beer place. We had Jack was going to tell us. We just forgot because we're not used to doing it. We just forgot to talk about it. So we will do that next week. I want to thank everybody for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside Now. We're going to try this for the next 3 or 4 months, and on Tuesdays while we're going through all the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday, and we do appreciate it. Jack, anything you wanted to tell the fans?
No, my thunder about ProWrestlingTees.com got snatched that from under me. So. I appreciate it, Michael.
And we also have some the support. There's different ways to support us. You still have the way to support us for $2.99 a month, but they're also going to be a yearly deal where you can just support us. Some people say, "Hey, I'll give you $2.99 for the year, but we won't give you $2.99 a month." So, and we understand that not everybody would want to support us like that, but we'll talk about that next week when we actually get back to it, and we remember to do it. So,
and again, my thanks to Greg, who I'm 2 hours and I'm not even halfway done with it yet. This is a quality cigar, so y'all can hit me up. I'll tell you how to get me one.
Rodney, final comments.
Michael, I want to say thank you for what you said about our father, Ron West. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everybody else who come on tonight. We're going to do it again next week. We'll have some fun.
Yeah, each and every Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We know we was going against the Braves tonight, which we appreciate everyone that came on and was a part of our show. Thank you so much, and we'll see everybody next week right here on the Wrestling Conversation. Thank you, and next week, Fabulous Freebirds is going to be one of the things we're going to talk about. See you next week.